things will be like, well, how do you know? Like, what's your evidence that, Aaron Mate is like, like totally a government
What's your
agent,
source?
right? Like, what's your source? Blah, 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 right? It's like there's people who, start the campaign, then it picks it up, but then it's like the amplify. You got authentic voices, inauthentic accounts, and useful idiots.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we've talked about
It's distinguishing them. That's the hard bit.
What this is right here, where they are in this. I looked at their past videos and stuff, and there's a lot of Green Party stuff. So, I think they're very young, greeny type. That that greeny type that we see in a lot of countries, like your country. You know what the type.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine that their real opinions are.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we don't even know if they're idiots or useful. We haven't actually looked at it enough. But there's certain things that get repeated that show that somebody's been infected with the mind virus, the woke mind virus. Let's see if Vaush uses Wikipedia as a source here.
Did want to talk a little bit about Vaush's recent comments on the drone strike killing of this.
Okay, so I see what happens here. Now Vaush sees them do this. Also, this is an older video. How old is this? 1 year ago? Gavin, you look great over like with some of the, because we've seen him more recently in videos. You look great. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So I guess Vaush made comments about drone wars, so they're going to react to that, and I think Vaush's response to that with a whole debate, which is maybe some other time because it's 58 minutes.
I want
to more get a vibe for these guys before I invest in like the only foreign policy shit that they've talked about.
I was just casually watching, and to be honest, this really took me aback. Maybe I shouldn't have been surprised given Vaush's, predictably dog shit takes on foreign policy.
So let's just give context. So what we see on the screen is al-Qaeda leader gotten drone striked in Kabul, right? We all remember this moment. It feels like yesterday to me.
But
I feel like in a pretextual sense, we have a decent justification for drone strikes in Afghanistan because, the Afghanistan the government was our ally, and then we left, and they immediately lost to the Taliban. So, I feel like you could do this kind of like, well, yeah, we don't recognize the legitimacy.
God damn it, guys. God damn it. It's been long. It's been a long time, but as far as my favorite sources to bring up, this is one of them. Not up there with the genocide conventions. That's one of my favorites to pull up. But you'll be familiar with this one because I drilled this phrase into your head. Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which is not recognized by the United States and is known as the Taliban. This is them negotiating with the Taliban. It's all here. It's all public file. You can go in here. The Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which is not recognized by the United States as a state and is known as the Taliban, will not allow any of its members or other individuals or groups, including al-Qaeda, to use their soil of Afghanistan or threaten the security of the United States and its allies. Number one thing that they negotiated on, right? Okay. That's the first point in the Doha talks that the Taliban had to agree to, is that their soil would not be used for terrorism, right? Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, which is not recognized by the United States as a state and is known as the Taliban, will not provide visas, passports, travel permits, or other legal documents to those who pose a threat to the security of the United States and its allies to enter Afghanistan.
Interesting.
No asylum or residence. It's part of the agreements to get the United States to leave in the Doha talks, which we can blame Trump for if we want to get into this. So also, let's not forget, Ayman al-Zawahiri was in a house owned by the interior minister, lifelong terrorist Sirajuddin Haqqani. So this is why, immediately following this strike, al-Qaeda's information networks lit up and Haqqani disappeared for a while because they said Haqqani sold them out. There was no way the United States would know they were there. They had to have been tipped off by Sirajuddin Haqqani himself. That's what they state. So if that's the case, well, it's $5 million bounty, right?
That's true.
They'll pay Haqqani.
They'll pay the Taliban.
Haqqani specifically, they will pay.
Yeah.
They know not to fuck with that guy. And also, the thing is that from the United States perspective, it's not like there's people being slaughtered by like governments and regimes all over the place. Yes, it was a huge investment that was lost. Yes, it was a huge setback in human rights. But as far as the United States, if you want to look at them as imperialist as possible, then why are they there? There was nothing for them to extract, exploit, or anything. It was and Afghanistan being a state, as long as they're not allowing al-Qaeda guys in and we can ninja missile them, then why does the United States care what's happening in Afghanistan?
Why would they care at all?
Yeah.
That's exactly the point. They wouldn't. They have no reason to care. They've made a deal.
And it's not like Biden didn't want to get out of that place in that fucking Obama administration. I don't know why Obama continually listened to Hillary over Joe fucking Biden, man.
Vaush, that's semantics. I mean, it's all semantics. It's really about like justifications.
You're
Kelly. Can we just not do drone strikes? I mean, if it's actually the number 2 guy behind 9/11 and no civilians were killed, I think that's pretty okay, to be honest. I'm okay with that. That seems okay to me.
Would you rather them use operatives?
Putting people on the ground.
Yeah, you want a Zero Dark 30 into Afghanistan?
Every time?
Yeah. You know, where would they even enter from, you know?
Yeah. There's no allies.
Haqqani, especially, like being the interior minister, it's so funny because the Taliban will try to deny this, and I'm like, nobody enters that country without Haqqani knowing it. You know, like it's not like you have instant connection. You know, but like Haqqani is the interior minister for a reason. He owns that fucking border. Especially the Pakistan side. You know, it might as well be. I mean, it basically is his kingdom.
I just like how casually Vaush comes out against trial by jury and like extrajudicial and pro extrajudicial killing. It's like, we don't know. He didn't have a trial. That's like the whole basis of America. But anyway,
horrifically dumb thing to say about. I know a lot of people.
Foreigners are not protected by the laws of the United States.
Also, it was just doing what the Taliban agreed to. And also, it's an R9X. So guess who didn't do it? Joe Biden. It's not up to him. R9X does not have authorization by the president. Only the CIA can authorize an R9X strike.
So it was the CIA.
Yeah. Of course it was. Yeah. So only they can. They're the only ones who can do these extrajudicial strikes, and they're the only ones who have access to the R9X. And that's why they kill ISIS leaders all the time, because ISIS leaders are lazy. And I mean, I guess it's like we want to lead from the front. You know, we're not afraid of the United States, and then they get fucking ninja chopped, slap chopped, right? So
slap chopped.
Ayman al-Zawahiri, he was on his balcony. I bet he was smoking a cigarette too. Yeah, I don't know. But he's on his balcony, like, enjoying it. Who knows where he's been hiding now? A lot of people say that he was in like Waziristan or something this whole time.
Yeah.
But I believe that we think that as far as intelligence goes, that he entered through the Iranian border, which would make sense because, you know, the current Emir of al-Qaeda is protected in Iran. Regardless, he was staying in a house owned by the interior minister. So Haqqani definitely knew he was there. R9X is used because he was out on his balcony and away from everyone, right?
Yeah.
The CIA, Alex Station, Michael Schur, you know, that the guy who's married to the Queen of Torture that Glenn Greenwald exposed. This is great history, you guys. If that guy, Mike, he's like, hey, you can see this video too, where they find bin Laden, they have him on surveillance on a drone. It was the only time they saw bin Laden like actively outside up until the day they killed him. Depends how much of the CIA story you want to believe. So they said, we need to have a Hellfire missile on this thing. We could have killed bin Laden right here. That's what gets Hellfire missiles on the drones in the first place. So it's kind of coming full circle. The CIA were the ones that needed the missiles on there to do these covert strikes to begin with. These covert strikes got really controversial because we got this idea that hasn't been around since World War II, where there could be like the ethical bomb and how you can bomb your way to winning a war. No, but you can precision slap chop. Like it's a sky sniper, you know? It's literally like a sky sniper.
A sky sniper. That's a great way to describe it.
Like it's the closest you can get. It's non-explosive. The only reason these people know about it is because they actually made a press statement about this. You know, every time they slap chop an ISIS guy, you know, conspicuously close to the Turkish border. You know,
always near the Turkish border.
Always near the Turkish border. Weirdly, dude, there's pictures of them like, just cut into pieces and stuff. It's great. Yep.
I wonder
there he
if
is,
there's any
donut
way to
head.
really find out the impact the drones have on like total casualties,
Really bad.
right?
Really bad. What is it? Okay, here we go. So, Long War Journal, total casualties, blue, right? Total civilian casualties. So they're the lowest. They are the most pro-U.S. outlet, but they're mainly focused on Pakistan. Really, really good investigative journalism. A lot of guys are like ex-soldiers, stuff like that. Bureau of Investigative Journalism has the highest. You're welcome. I helped. Same with the highest of the civilians. New America Foundation. So
sounds like a Fallout villain group.
Oh yeah, it does. You're right. Maximum. This is we talk about this, like how bad it gets in this zone. This is when they go drone heavy. I think they kill a Taliban leader. But I mean both Taliban, even like a Pakistan Taliban and Afghanistan Taliban. It gets really out of control in this range. But this one only goes up to 2014. It did decelerate after 2014, but it did continue as well. So
in 2010, the civilian casualties were highest.
Oh, well, 2010 was just when they were just like, fuck it, drones are the answer to everything. So these are the three main sources for drone warfare stuff. So like here's The Economist, number of strikes for those three outlets. But also you have to remember the count. So it's like 300 is maximum, and it's from 2009 to 2015.
Yeah.
And then Trump classified all this shit. So we'll get it eventually through Freedom of Information Act. It's many is too many. It depends on if you want to have a question about the ethics of journalism or the ethics of drone strikes and the legality of it too. Drone strikes on the rise in Yemen, right? This is when I think we drone strike an American citizen, and then they're like, okay, come on, no more drone strikes. You get out of control. So out of 12 strikes in Yemen in 6 months in 2022, they're saying they killed a lot of al-qeada right here. And this is also the reason, this is also when they're trying to withdraw, right? So they're thinking that they can replace troops on the ground with bombs. And that they can just bomb their way out of the war. Extremely unethical. The civilian toll is a little too high.
Indiscriminate bombing will do that.
This is like Waziristan. And so total killed, we're looking at like 3,000, right? Well, we're rounding down here to be generous. So 3,000, actually it's disingenuous. It's fucking them harder. It's just easier to do the math. 3,000 targets killed, right? That means almost 300 children killed out of that ratio, right?
Yeah.
And then nearly 1,000 civilians. And that's where that's and look at that. Total strikes. That's like Obama dropped so many bombs. Total strikes.
Yeah, he dropped a lot of bombs. People don't realize how many.
Well, especially in Waziristan.
And
also a lot of these, they do a lot of stuff where they're letting Pakistan authorize these strikes, and they're like, when these strikes are first happening, people are saying like, no, it's totally Pakistan because the United States isn't supposed to be operating in Pakistan. So all of these were done with normally directed at an Eagle base inside Afghanistan. So. That's why it says CIA drone strikes. They're coming right out of Eagle Base, so they're using like the KPF to probe into Waziristan to find these. And like they killed Haqqani network. They killed a lot of fucking terrorists and shit like that. But at the end of the day, they handed over Afghanistan to them anyway.
Yeah, and pretty much.
Anyway.
Side tangent.
I mean, it's obviously like the downsides with drones is that you can do them anywhere, everywhere, all the time. With total impunity. You don't need to commit any troops to the ground, which means that it's really easy to do drone strikes without any kind of like major commitment. But you also don't have to put any boots on the ground. I wonder if we didn't have drones, would we?
It's not that they don't have to put boots on the ground. It's that they can't.
We would like if drones just didn't exist. Would our government be like, yeah, dude?
And also, those are only CIA drone strikes because there's drone strikes that are happening in the field, with people like directly on Overwatch missions and things like that.
Yeah,
doing a close air support.
Yeah,
totally different type of drone strike.
We totally need,
and I'm totally fine with that.
Would it be like in the absence of drone warfare? Would we feel the need to compensate for it with traditional?
No, as you can see. The drone war is over. Thanks, Biden. He not only ended the war in Afghanistan, Iraq. Trump can take credit for some of this. Trump cannot take credit for ending the drone war, though.
Occupation,
I mean, he kind of
No.
can because he made it so unethical.
or you just leave it be, and the addition of drones is only like a net negative. I don't know if there's a way. I feel like I lean towards.
I mean,
the
that's
net
one way to
negative.
do it.
I think in my
Just make it so unethical that it has to be stopped.
Like,
I bet.
Not worth.
And even that, even then, because you think about it, if Erdogan committed a shitload of Turkish troops to Kurdistan and they're conscripts, right?
Mm.
So these are people who are not going there voluntarily, and they end up dying in Syria. Then the election comes. At the end of the day, as much as a dictator Erdogan is, he also has to answer to a democracy. If he really killed a lot of fucking Turkish troops and overcommitted the way Russia is in Ukraine,
Yeah.
like Vladimir Putin would not win an election right now. And also his people, he tries to like kill their brains. It's
but because we
Crazy.
have drones, it's actually way easier to do. A lot of this stuff.
Also, we tried to limit drones, and that's why the Bayraktar was invented, which is good for Ukraine, but not good for my friends.
All right, so we got to pause there. This is insane, truly insane shit, and also just incredibly ignorant. Vaush either feigning ignorance or truly ignorant about the collateral damage wrought by drone warfare in countries such as Afghanistan. Let's take a gander here at The Guardian. U.S. airstrikes killed at least 22,000 civilians since 9/11, analyst finds, and that's just
the entire war on terror. Do you know how low that is?
Just airstrikes, so not necessarily all
they went
drone
with
warfare.
You saw how
But let me
quick-
tell you,
you
a
saw-
lot of it
You saw how quick I pulled up those drone strike statistics in real time?
was drone warfare. And also, I wanted to put up this tweet from Empire Files, which I think actually really accurately.
What's the Empire Files?
It's Abby Martin.
It's what?
Not the best source.
Abby Martin. She's the one propagandist that I say is the only one that I like.
Kind of addresses the sentiment he's saying here, which is that U.S. drone strikes have killed approximately 900 children, around 200 in Afghanistan, including the last strike that killed 7 kids at once, celebrating a rare instance.
So here's the thing. So as we know, the Empire Files, they are like, kind of a propagandist source, even though Abby Martin has shown that, she just won't sell any lies unjustified. I mean, they basically fired her because she spoke up about the Crimean invasion on RT. So it's like, this is just the Pakistan strikes, right? We have an exact thing for children, right? This is this is the worst years of it. It goes down after this, but and this is total. So it's approximately 900 worldwide, right? They might be able to get that. If there's if airstrikes killed 22,000, this might be there. Celebrating, see, this is where it's bullshit. Celebrating the rare instance where only the intended target was killed. Normally, it's like their bonus objectives. It's like you can kill. You're targeting one Haqqani, but 2 others happen to be there. That you kill other than the intended target. They tend to, have terrorist meetings where they all meet up, and you watch them like all walk into the building and pop it, right?
Bonus.
And also, the United States, the women in these places, like you can see a great speech by Sirajuddin Haqqani. He's so good at speaking. It's even though he's really shy, he's so passionate about some of the things he says, and he talks about. He's like, we were more upset about the women. It's the double tap they do in response to the Eagle base being hit by the bomb, the suicide bomber. Where they're trying to catch the Hawaii right there. So they double tap Haqqani, and he's talking about this drone strike, basically saying to the tribal leaders that you have to let go of your malice towards each other, like trying to unite the country under him, of course. But he's like, they murdered the women. We were more upset about the women than the men. They died with the Qurans in their hand. This old man is witness to that.
Instance where only the intended.
I didn't know he did that.
It's a great. I put it in videos sometimes. He's great. Just whenever I get to see him, he's so interesting to study because he seems a little autistic, but also like totally probably has killed more people in the world than anyone else alive right now. Well, I mean, it's kind of, it depends on how, like I said, how you're defining innocent, but like normally, like you're killing a whole family, because they have they have battle wives with them, like especially ISIS is really into this whole thing where you like use the women around you as human shields, and it's like, we don't care, we're just gonna kill them.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And, that's the kind of horrible shit they were making Daniel Hale do. And because he's a hero and he has a conscience, he said, no, I'm going to put this information above my own well-being. It's just absurd that you would try and argue that. The information that we do
Nobody's
have on drones
arguing
is so
that.
damning, and we know that we don't even have like
Bro, I
the half of
guarantee you-
it, guys. All the shit that we
I guarantee you, Vaush would also say that guy did the right thing.
Yeah.
Again, like if your stance is just anti-drone, what does it matter if it's 200 or 2,000?
Yeah.
Like, is 200 dead babies just better than 2,000 dead babies, right? If you're just anti-drone specifically,
Maybe.
because I'll tell you what, if some motherfucker dropped a bomb on my family, I would, and they were like, oh, ISIS is who's going to go kill those people. He was like, I would have signed right up. Are you kidding me? Every 17-year-old that's had their family killed, everything that they know.
The thing is that the United States, it's not like the Taliban are always going to have recruits. It's not something that you extinguish numbers wise. It's like, hey, is that a Haqqani? Let's kill him, right? And like also the real unethical shit goes back to like where we're talking like Eagle Base itself and the KPF deploying into Waziristan, right? So the KPF, like any amount of research that you do into the KPF, you'll be like, this is fucked. They are literally, so they're called the Coast Protection Force. Coast is basically it's the highway to all the criminal shit between Pakistan and Afghanistan. It's right there on Waziristan. It's totally in control of the Haqqani family. And these guys go and operate across the border into Afghanistan. And when they put drones around them, they call them shadow cover. And these guys literally will abduct people in Pakistan, bring them back, and host them in their own prison cells because they're technically Afghan forces that are managed by the CIA, and they're how the CIA would then get intelligence, which was sometimes tortured out of people, which would then be used to kill other people in Pakistan.
Is that right?
To underplay the tragedy of 9/11, but the response that we had was just inconceivably
correct.
evil and just psychotic.
Vaush would not deny this. Most people will not deny this.
Absolutely. And again, Vaush is trying to justify our extrajudicial assassination by saying, well, this was the second in command. He was responsible for 9/11. And again, of course, obviously 9/11 was a horrific tragedy. But what, 3,000 people?
Did he say he was responsible for 9/11? I don't think he said that. I think you're filling
No,
in
that was the first time he said
You're
that.
filling in blanks that aren't there. The guy who's responsible for 9/11 is in Gitmo.
Killed at least 22,000 civilians. Again, that's just civilians that are recorded since 9/11. This article is 10 months old, so probably untold more have been killed since. And again, that's a combination of U.S. drone.
Guys, the war on terror ended. The war on terror is over. It's done.
And just regular airstrikes. In addition to the millions of people killed during the actual wars themselves. So under Vaush's own,
let's say hundreds of thousands. It's a way easier stat to throw out than millions. it's really to add the S on millions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of I corrected Sam Cedar on this, and ever since he has said 100, 1,000, if not up to 1 million, which is the correct thing to say.
Own logic, does al-qeada or some other country, do they have the right to
al-qeada or some other country?
Joe Biden or Barack Obama? Like, these people are responsible for more civilian deaths than the people behind 9/11.
No, especially if we're talking about the Haqqani network, which is the main people who are being bombed in Pakistan. Like, oh my god, no. I mean, they do fucking like car bombs on fucking schools with children in it. Certain district is supportive of the U.S. and stuff like that. Like, oh my god, no.
Like, wouldn't this logic also work that way too?
Yeah, and it also says if you scroll down a little bit that the real number is probably way higher. So if you know the Guardian, their at least number is like the bare fucking minimum with what they can get away with publishing, right? As many as almost 50,000.
Guys, come on. You're using the Guardian as a source, and they have red text highlighted here that says the analysis. You have the sources here. If you went to these sources, you'd have the stats I did.
1,000 people? Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually more than that. We have rained hell on so many countries, okay? This is probably just looking at like fucking Afghanistan and Iraq maybe, but you got to remember we've been doing fucked up shit every...
No. It's the war on terror. It's every operation across the global war on terror. It's the GOTW.
Basically that's
Not
where
anymore.
it is, but
That's in Joe
Still,
Biden got elected.
There's a lot of shady shit that they won't even tell any of us about, where people are getting killed constantly. You know, dark sites. Like it's crazy because sometimes you'll
Black
watch the
sites,
Joe
you were
Rogan
close.
podcast,
We don't
right, and then they'll
exist
just be
anymore,
like interviewing Navy SEALs
say
and shit,
dark
right?
sites?
And those are the people that literally
Yeah,
just went.
I mean, he was close. He's close enough. They don't really exist anymore.
Oh, he did 9/11. It's like, bro, we don't know that. Our intelligence is dog shit. Okay, like we can't just extrajudicially assassinate people. We can try and put them on trial. We can put them on trial, and then But I mean, there has to at least be something there. You can't.
Again, I agree with pretty much all of this, but I also want to point out that the guy who is responsible for 9/11 is currently on trial.